Hello, welcome to the Rooster Teeth podcast. This week brought to you by, we got a couple of special guests with us, but I'm Gus.
I'm Rhett.
You want me to introduce myself?
Yeah.
I'm my buddy Link.
I feel like we should have practiced this beforehand.
We should have practiced. It's a little early.
Yeah, I'm Bernie,
I think we're a little rusty.
It's my buddy Bernie.
Bet I'm like 500 of these things.
And I'm Gus.
But
It's a lot of them.
there's always a debate of whether or not we introduce ourselves. And you guys have done Good Mythical Morning for a really long time.
Yeah.
We don't introduce ourselves.
Right. At
on
some
Good Mythical
point,
Morning.
you say the name of the show,
Yeah.
but they
we
never
do,
do
we do on our podcast, though.
You have chirons with your name,
Put
right?
it in the lower third. That's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Eric, why don't we have name graphics?
We Chiron.
Doesn't know.
I've never heard Chiron before. What is that?
Chiron is my
That's the
third child.
Yeah, that's the planet where my father's from.
He shows up down here all the time. Oh, you look at that.
Yeah, that's a chiron,
Look
Bernie.
at that. You got it.
How long have you worked in this industry?
That's
Do
a
I get
Chiron?
one?
Yeah.
Do I get one?
so
Yeah,
fast?
get one.
I'm with Red. It sounds like a planet that Superman escaped.
Wow, they have those rays.
Disappear.
I've been here for like 530 episodes. Where's mine? You think they would have made one at one
And
point?
they did it so easily.
Yeah,
Only
it was
two of
so-
those are good.
Well, we
though.
bring the
effortless.
Chirons with us.
Yeah.
Oh, do
You
you?
should have had us on 10 years ago.
It's actually on our clothes. Look at that.
It's like a censorship. It's like, there we go. That's what you want. You just humped it away. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm really sorry about
sorry
that.
he humped away the Chiron.
Like I need to.
I heard a thumping on a mic. Eric, is there something you want to say?
He doesn't have a mic.
Who's patting on the mic?
Oh, I think, is that Nick? Oh, it's Nick.
Don't give us that look. You're the one who's patting on the mic.
So this is a pre-taped episode if anybody's watching. We're not live, so we're not monitoring chat. Normally we keep an eye on chat, but we're not doing that today.
Oh.
Because you're not there.
What are you guys in town for? Are you in town for something specific? Just
We're
to see
in
us?
town for you.
Yeah, just for us.
Yeah, we wanted to hang out with you guys and make some videos.
Well, you couldn't have picked a better week to travel to Austin than South by Southwest week when it's prohibitively expensive to travel to Austin and the airports are all clogged.
And
we're in
traffic
a
gets even
tent.
worse.
We're in a tent.
Ooh.
Actually, we were sleeping in your bus.
Did you get a chance to check out the bus?
You have had lots of roasted nuts.
No, we haven't been in it yet,
I'm
but
living exclusively off
we
of,
want
off
to
of
go
your
in the
roasted
bus.
nuts. There's smoke coming out of the top of your bus.
I think
man.
your bus is on fire.
No, it's got a little like a little wood burning stove in it.
It smells funny.
Is what the wood does?
Well, I didn't go inside, but the outside smells funny.
What kind of wood you burning?
You smell on the outside of my bus, or the smoke smells funny?
The
I think
smoke.
it's the smoke.
I see what
Is
you're
that
getting
a-
at.
is that
I see
a
what you're getting
mesquite?
at.
But my nose was right against the bus, but
Austin just smells like that in general.
It
I
smells
don't know
like
if
the art
you've noticed.
teacher's classroom for some reason.
What's that?
It smells like an art teacher's classroom.
Is that what you really think it smells like?
on
joke.
on the
It's a
inside.
fucking joke, dude. Do you know how to roll with a joke? We've been doing this for 10 years. I don't know. Maybe I set one up and maybe you laugh. Maybe you don't. I don't know. I just try. That's what I do. I come out here and I try. I was telling them before we started that
That's my joke to watch you fail.
we're coming
That's
up
what I
on
enjoy.
our 10-year anniversary of doing weekly podcasts.
That's crazy.
How long you guys been doing Good Mythical Morning? Or how
but-
long have Rhett
11
and
years.
Link been together as an entity?
We've
ask.
been.
is this a competition? Because that informs my answer.
I'm just curious because I'm
not a competitive
I feel
person.
older every day, and I just want people. Misery loves company. I just want to know.
We've all been through it, so yeah.
I think the Wikipedia says active since 2000, but that we were just doing like live.
since
We
2000.
were doing like live comedy at that point. But the internet, we started our website in 03, redlink.com. And that we were probably doing something similar to you. We were hosting our own videos on our own server. And then people started downloading them, putting them on YouTube
when YouTube came about.
in
04.
I think they started doing that in 05, 06.
06.
We started.
Was YouTube the
we
big
joined
thing?
YouTube, yeah.
Yeah.
And then GMM was 2012.
In 2012.
Yeah.
So pretty far into it, you guys started your big property, GMM.
Yeah. As a side project, definitely, yeah.
I had a really crazy realization the other day because we started 2003 as well. And April 1st, the company will have been around for 16 years, which means at some point in the next few years, we're going to hire somebody that wasn't born when the company started.
Right.
We're in this surreal place where things like that are starting to happen. I'm just very grateful that we're still around. We're somewhat viable.
But we are
Relevant.
already hiring child labor. So we have lots of Lots of employees that were not born when
We had that year 6, right? When you guys hit that milestone.
They have smaller hands. It's more nimble. They can get a lot of that manual labor done more easily.
They don't develop the carpal tunnel as fast.
It's a serious issue,
Those
guys.
young tendons.
I'm just gonna try to diffuse everything you say.
It's like the opposite of improv. Just everything I say, just no.
But it's a good point. It's like you guys working together. I don't know if you guys actually hate each other as much as Gus and I don't like each other. But
So you're sitting
We
there
knew
wa-
each other before we worked together, so we were just really priming that pump.
no, we
Right.
didn't.
Oh.
Oh, I mean, before we worked together here.
Yeah, but we worked together at another
my
company,
God.
a tech company
Jesus
before this.
Christ.
Can you tell us that origin story?
Okay, exactly.
Okay.
We were playing. We had our break room at the tech company. We had a Sega Dreamcast.
At the what company?
Tech company. It was a call center. We did tech support. And
Okay.
what was your? Do you guys have jobs before you were in entertainment?
Engineers.
You were engineers. I was
Yeah.
computer science. That's what I graduated as.
I could tell when you were testing the jock straps. Very thorough engineering.
Very, very technical.
But
Yeah, I have an industrial engineering degree.
industrial engineering.
Red has
Civil.
a civil engineering degree.
Really, I never knew that.
Yeah.
So you could be building bridges.
Yeah.
And industries.
Well, I probably couldn't, actually. I don't know how much I learned in those 4.5 years. But I can design a mean drainage ditch.
And I can fire somebody. Like that's an industrial engineer. It's all about efficiency. So once you create efficiency, you fire the person who was doing the thing that you figured out another way to do it.
Interesting.
Right.
Have you met our controller? Have you met Eric?
Yeah, Eric.
Hello.
Eric, I have some notes for you. The main one is I don't think you're needed.
Oh boy.
I didn't
It's
have
just
to
part of his
actually.
training, Eric.
I would just make a spreadsheet, and this people would be missing, and because that was my job, a part of it.
You mean you would
But-
accidentally leave people off of a spreadsheet and they would get fired?
No, I would scientifically leave them off, but then I wouldn't have to tell Eric, "Hey, man, just this is it. Pack your things."
So, like, when you hear about a sports team in the playoffs that's been mathematically eliminated, you're the guy that mathematically eliminates people, essentially.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Death
Them
by
off that
math.
spreadsheet.
You'd
Yeah.
love that.
It's great. I love
That's
it.
how you'd love to go out, is by mathematics.
Just being smothered by a multiplication sign.
No, I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore because that weighed heavily on my conscience. But I mean, it can't be as bad as working at a call center. Did you answer phones?
We did. Well, I did. He was my direct manager. He was my manager's manager. But we had a.
Oh, he was your second line, they call it in corporate speak. Your boss's boss.
Do you even know
Yeah.
what my job was?
You were. I don't know. You sat in an office and yelled at people when they took your chair.
I
That's
was, I was the president of the company. I don't know why he didn't know. I don't know why he worked at this company. Didn't know I was the president of the company.
It was really crushing to always have to answer the phone. So the call center decided to buy a Sega Dreamcast for the break room.
Oh, okay.
It's like a way to let off steam, during breaks. It was back when
It was
the
my
Dreamcast
decision.
was
I just
new.
wanted to play Sega Dreamcast.
Right, yeah.
So
And
As the manager of the manager.
exactly.
I had the
This is how
privilege of making decisions like this.
well, the
this
president.
is how Bernie and I met.
manager
Was,
of the manager.
I think what game was it? It was Dead or Alive.
It was Dead or Alive 2. How dare you?
And
Okay.
I was playing. Bernie sat
Seems
down.
like an easy game, like if it's just a choice.
You're right. It would be. It's this or that. You leave
Yeah,
death
it's
off
just like
the
you just
Excel
kind of
spreadsheet.
click dead or alive and it's over.
But we sat down to play, and Bernie beat me the first round. And I guess he grew up playing video games, so he felt bad about it. And he
Well, I
turned
would
and looked at
clarify
me.
and say handily beat him. It was
right.
very easy.
Okay,
He
got
said
it.
he told me that he was very good at video games, which infuriated me.
I grew up. Well, I always wanted
Really?
people to play video games with me, and when I grew up playing video games, I came out of the arcade era of the 80s, and then even when people had like Ataris or Colecos or things like that. So I'd always try to get my friends to play, but if I beat them, they wouldn't play with me again. You know what I mean? Because they didn't like losing, so they'd want to do something else, and I wanted to play video games. So a lot of times I would nerf a little bit and let them win. And so I just grew up with that kind of anxiety of being a gaming nerd. And so when I beat Gus, I had to explain, I play a lot of video games. I'm really good at video games. That's why I beat you.
He didn't know me, and that's the exact wrong thing to say to me in that situation. So I got so mad that I beat him the next round without taking a single hit. And I think I looked at him and I said, I'm also pretty good at video games.
Yeah. I can actually
That
do
is the genesis, no pun intended.
Exactly. That was our Master System moment.
Yeah.
But I can give you the exact impression because I said, I'm play a lot of video games. I was trying to be self-effacing.
Yeah,
like that was a
yeah.
bad thing.
But you had just beat him, so
Yeah, and I said, so I play a lot of video games, so that's my excuse of why I won. And he just goes, it's like dark, the 1,000-yard stare. Then he gets this flawless victory on me in the next round, and he just goes like this. I'm also good at video games.
Wow.
So that was the moment I met Gus, and we both remember that very well for some
That
reason.
was 21 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, 21 years ago now.
And then a guy we fired from the call center who got mathematically eliminated by an industrial engineer, probably. He came back and stole the Dreamcast from
forgot about
the
that,
break
yeah.
room.
You
Yeah.
just took it?
Yeah, he just came in and I don't think somebody turned off his key card, and he came back and
yeah.
stole our Dreamcast.
Gotta
Yeah.
do that. Gotta
Well-
change the door code, they say.
Yeah, that's why they do it right away. Every time I go on one of these buildings, we have a security system, and when I present my ID for the security system, and it gives me a red light or a green light, I know I still work here.
Yeah.
I got a red light yesterday morning.
What happened?
I was going
What'd you do wrong?
across the parking lot to the other building, and I swiped my card, and it was red. I was going in to get a cup of coffee. I was like,
You know what happened?
You were
"That's
over
no-"
your limit.
I was like, that's no good. So then I had to message someone. I was like, I can't get into the building.
Link turned into a spreadsheet, so you're gone. buddy.
Luckily
It's
they
over.
fixed it, but it was really annoying because I had been in this building. I was right over here, and I saw Chris Damaris getting a cup of coffee. And I
Okay.
thought, that's really good.
Classic
That's
Chris.
a great idea. I want to get a cup of coffee. This one's taken. I'm going to go get coffee across the parking lot. And it was like 30 degrees at this point. So I walk across the parking lot, can't get in. Like, motherfucker. So I'm stuck. Walk back across the parking lot, come in here to get coffee, and Chris is still standing there. I'm like, you asshole, this is your fault somehow. I had to go outside and be cold because you're getting coffee right now.
And did you get coffee
I did
ever?
get coffee.
I need to know that you got
It was
coffee.
Yeah.
it was the most wonderful coffee tasting water I've ever had. The coffee machine's terrible. I hate that coffee
thing's
machine.
great.
It's awful. We have one coffee machine that tries to tell you jokes as you wait for your coffee. It's got like a
really?
little screen on it.
That can't be true.
Yeah, it
Is that
says.
where you got the art teacher bit? Was from the
Yeah,
coffee?
it was. We're workshopping together, and it'll like. I don't even know. It says the stupidest things. I try not to look at the display because it makes me mad when I'm waiting for my coffee. That like it's trying to entertain me.
It is a bad
Yeah.
idea when people are getting coffee. That means they don't have coffee. Bad idea to try to make jokes. To
It
those
should be,
Yeah,
one,
no
it should be
sense of
once
humor.
the coffee's completed.
Right.
Here's a joke.
Or the bottom of the cup.
I think the same is true of Laffy Taffy. You know, you got that Laffy Taffy in your mouth. The last thing you want is to laugh because, I mean, hey, it's really hard to laugh with taffy
It's
in
true.
your mouth. It's like it's very obstructionist. You know,
It's
you're
like a challenge.
right. If you bite on the taffy and then you're trying to laugh, you could lose a molar.
A filling would pop right out.
A filling could pop
Yeah.
right out.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
I got you.
It hasn't happened to me. I don't have any fillings.
I haven't seen you ever eat Laffy Taffy except the one time we did
bingo.
on the show.
Now we know why.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Is there a candy that you will not eat? I think everybody has the go-to of like, they have a go-to candy. For me, it's a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Oh, you a peanut butter man?
I do. I grew up peanut butter. I used to put peanut butter in vanilla ice cream was my favorite thing growing up.
Yes, I did that too.
Yeah, got to be about 18,
Never heard of
couldn't do
that.
that anymore. Oh, it was like 5 pounds every
Started
day.
catching up with you a little bit.
Yeah. But,
I would every night I would I'm sure someone here can attest to this because it was like all the way through college too. Every night before I would go to bed, I would pour a glass of milk, I would put in some chocolate syrup, and then I would take a spoonful of peanut butter, put it down, and stir up make
Really?
the chocolate milk, and then that would be my like going to bed routine.
Your nightcap.
So would
My
you,
nightcap, yeah.
You would stir the peanut butter into the milk?
Well, it
Or-
stays on the spoon.
It stays on the spoon, but I need to use the spoon
but it
to
gets
stir the
it gets milky.
chocolate
Yeah.
to make
A
the
little
chocolate
bit of
milk.
peanut butter flavor gets into the chocolate milk.
That's great.
Peanut butter
First of all,
infused chocolate milk. It's
You
like
did this up until like 3 years ago. You acted like it was. I mean, you did
Yeah.
this well into adulthood.
Yeah, and I would get a lot of flack from my roommates because there would always be the glass ding 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 ding
yeah.
ding ding. So you know Link is going to sleep. That was my Link is going to sleep dink.
It's like the opposite of an alarm clock. It's like my
Exactly.
going to bed alarm.
Yeah, but other people may have already been asleep. That's
yeah.
the problem.
Well-
I didn't care. I had to do it.
Yeah, that's not your problem. That's their problem.
I like
so
yours.
I heard you guys were
Jolly Ranchers, by the way, was my answer.
circus peanuts.
You'll never eat
Awful.
Jolly Ranchers.
It's what you're saying. They glue my teeth together. It's just like it turns into like some kind of epoxy that just like a hard,
Yeah,
like just
you lose a molar.
You will. It's like a different layer of teeth.
Isn't it epoxy when you combine two things?
What's that?
Yeah, your
I
teeth
said
and
like
Jolly
an
Ranchers.
epoxy.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
It's saliva and rancher.
For me, it's circus peanuts. I can't understand anybody. Circus peanuts and Twizzlers. I don't understand either of those. Twizzlers is just
Ooh, you're about to insult me.
red gooey
You're about to upset me.
mash.
You don't like black licorice either, do you?
Oh, I hate black licorice.
Yep. That's a sign of
Do you like-
deep emotional problem.
Really, you like black licorice?
Yeah,
You're the one?
Most very stable,
Geniuses.
stable geniuses love
Don't feed into this.
love black licorice. Yeah, I know I do. I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, there's not many things that I don't like. Circus peanuts, though. Do you know that Lucky Charms was created by accident when a guy who worked at whatever company makes Lucky Charms put circus peanuts into Cheerios?
Really?
So that was the genesis of Lucky Charms.
Weird.
And if you eat a circus peanut and then eat a Lucky Charms marshmallow, you'll be like, oh, you know what? You're right. This is a very similar thing. They've since like fine-tuned the marshmallow recipe.
Right.
But that's what it was.
It seems like it would if they took a circus peanut and then just like compressed it down.
right.
Like to put it a humongous amount of pressure on it, they could make
right.
like one
and then made it a different color.
Yeah.
marshmallow out
I
of
get
it.
that grit, that squeak that those marshmallows
So
make.
weird.
It's just something about that I can't hang with.
Yeah,
that.
I'm not a marshmallow man, but on GMM we did a tournament last Halloween to determine the worst Halloween candy ever, but basically the worst candy ever. And Necco wafers
Oh,
those are
Necco
bad.
wafers.
what
you get-
is where we came down.
Yeah.
Kind of got a black licorice flavor to them a little bit, though, don't they?
That's
No,
that hurts me a little bit.
No, they don't. Do they?
Well, first
they're,
of all,
they're just very
there were two-
powdery, and it's
It's like chalk. It's like
Unculinary.
sliced chalk.
it's like eating chalk. It's like eating straight up sidewalk chalk. But as somebody who likes licorice, I didn't know that Good and Plenty's were black
Yeah.
licorice.
Yeah.
That was quite a discovery
Huh.
for me.
Yep.
It's weird.
You never had them?
No, I mean, I guess not.
they're
but-
candy coated black licorice,
They're
right?
just white on the outside.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not into that. But then I was a revelation.
You got turned around.
I'm with you, though. I think black licorice is a very important candy because it teaches children about disappointment at a very early age.
You want some candy?
in other words, you're
Idiot.
alone.
Remember the vending
You're outnumbered.
machines, the little like quarter machines that were in
Yeah.
the front of grocery stores? And I'd always ask my parents, I want to go and get a gumball. And then you get the black gumball, and it's like, it's the worst day of
I
the
thought
year.
the black gumball was like grape or something.
No, the ones I always got were
No,
licorice.
it's licorice.
Yeah.
Wow.
What
you
was
just-
the-
maybe you just got a rotten gumball. I don't
I've
remember.
never heard of a licorice
Me
gumball.
neither.
What was the concept?
That's like a nightmare,
Can I
man.
be honest about something? I wanted to seem a little bit younger than I am. I was actually thinking about the penny gumball machine. So, where you know the ones where you slide it over? Please tell me you remember
Yeah, yeah.
these.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, of course.
That's what I was thinking of. That's where I would get the black gumballs. I just wanted to like go to the Nintendo era
Okay,
with
you
the
changed
quarter
my frame of reference. I understand now.
What was that concept that you were talking about?
Cool.
I think you talked about this on the podcast. The idea that you eat things that are a little bit of a punishment to you, but that's why you like it. It's like basically,
It's benign masochism.
yeah, it's
It
like
is what
S&M
it's
for your
called.
mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
Wait, hot stuff or
like hot
Hot- yeah,
stuff.
people do it with hot
gross
peppers.
Stuff.
There's a
I think
psychological
coffee
factor to
counts 'cause it's
eating
bitter.
things that are disagreeable to some degree, and that's what I think people gravitate towards. And I feel I definitely like things with like strong, pungent flavors like black licorice. I think there's something about the fact that I hate it makes me love it.
Yeah, there's a psychological
brain
satisfaction to
changes it.
knowing that something feels like you're in danger or being threatened.
Yeah.
But you actually can override that and know that you're actually safe.
That's why people love roller coasters, right? Because it has all the thrills of a near-death experience, but you kind of know, at least if you're not in Florida, you're probably not going to die on this ride,
probably not.
right?
Yeah.
You know,
Just even by sheer probability from the 8,000 people that rode it that day and the 50 other people that are riding it with you at that moment, you're probably not going to do it.
You're probably in good hands.
You're not that special.
but I am thinking constantly, especially when I'm on one of those roller coasters where you're suspended on the bottom, because I'm a big guy and I'm always like, it's gonna break on me. It's gonna break on me. It's gonna break on me.
Or
like
your
the-
legs are just going to hang a little lower than the tolerance that they built it for, or like something weird like that.
You're gonna lose below the ankles.
Yeah.
We did it. We had an opportunity thing years ago. They had a new roller coaster down in San Antonio, and the Travel Channel had a roller coaster show, and so they asked us to go do it. And it was like, but they needed a group of people. They needed like 6 people. And I had a little bit more experience with production at that point in time than some of our younger employees. So I said, you know what, you guys be on the show. I'll just go and ride the roller coaster. And so I won't have to be on camera, and you guys can have this really cool opportunity. Because I knew, and this exactly is what happened, I got to ride the roller coaster twice. And I go, well, that's fun. I'm going home. They had to ride it like 12 times to get all the shots. They were gray by
gosh.
the end of it. It is funny when you get right back on
Yeah.
to a roller
I
coaster.
couldn't do it.
They couldn't stand it.
Well, and
I couldn't do two in a row.
They have if no one's at the amusement park, sometimes they'll. I mean, if you're in the seat and there's no one in line, you're like, can I just go again? I think they're supposed to make you get out and walk around for that reason because
Yeah.
So the line's there for your safety.
Yeah, exactly.
the line is just there. for
And
you.
that's why it's
Yeah.
so meandering. It's just for the people who are there.
Maze.
I think, yeah, I was at Six Flags, and the more I think about it, I think that they'll let you do it maybe one more time, but then they said, we have a regulation. We actually have to make you get off and then get back on. So maybe they had signed a waiver, but yeah, once you ride something twice, if you ride something 3 times in a row without getting off, it is no longer fun at all.
There were breaks because it takes a while to set up. They need to move the cameras. I remember there was a drone at the top of the first hill, that took a little while to set up. But I could see everyone. I had enough after 2, and then they were out there till like 3 in the afternoon filming this stuff. And then it's Texas, so it got hot.
It's pretty hot.
no.
Here, I got to read this thing here from our sponsor.
Okay.
I want to remind everyone this episode of the Rooster Teeth podcast is brought to you by. So I heard when you guys were here just a little before we got started filming this morning that you all discovered kolaches.
Yes.
Really never had kolaches before.
No, and I
Of all the stuff we've eaten,
I'm still suspicious that this is a practical joke.
well, that was a great one.
Not at all.
I love this type of practical joke. A tasty bun.
Well, it's also
infused
it's a
with
subtle
meager
practical joke.
sweets.
It's like, let's serve them something, and then we'll all act like we know what kolaches are, and then when the 3 people who don't, the 2 of us and Stevie show up and don't know what it is, we'll be like, you've never heard of kolaches before?
You got pranked. You ate a delicious snack.
Yeah, we got you.
I love subtle pranks where you're not really sure what the... No, we've never heard of them, but we do know now they're like Polish/German.
Yeah, it's not even like a Texas-wide thing. I think it's like a very central Texas thing. I think Central Texas has had a high concentration of German immigrants in the 1800s who moved here.
We got everything.
And so as a result, so kolaches took off. I think kolache itself is actually Slavic and Polish, but I think Germans kind of brought it over with them. It's a weird place because there's still a lot of German-speaking people, like out in Fredericksburg, which is just west of here.
Okay.
But the language has branched, and they speak a dialect of German that is different than people in Germany speak.
No.
Yeah, so it's like you can speak a specific type of German to people whose families immigrated here.
You're talking like a Texas German dialect?
Right, there's a Texas German dialect that's officially recognized as a branch of German.
Are these people like isolated in like a Amish sense? Is that why they're still speaking German?
I think it was just a holdover from when communication was more difficult and you couldn't really, pick up a phone and call someone. And I think it's just a holdover from that. I'm sure we're at a point in time now where this dialect's going to die off. Okay. And it's probably not going to be viable in the next generation.
As long as the kolaches don't die.
Yeah, the bright side is the kolaches will start to disseminate.
Those live.
Yeah.
I mean, I love when people put things in just balls of bread.
Well, it's kind of like it's like a bun from Golden Corral has those type of buns.
Like a yeast roll almost.
Yeah.
It's a yeast roll, and then it's got. I mean, mine had scrambled eggs and sausage in it. Yours had like a strawberry goo in it.
Well, my first one has sausage, egg, and cheese. I started savory, I ended sweet, like I do all my meals.
Smart.
Good routine.
Yeah.
So you're a principled man.
There's a
It descends into the horror of black licorice after that.
Yeah, it's like a black licorice.
Torture
You know
himself.
what? That's an interesting thing about black licorice. I'm going to continue to be an advocate for it. It's sweet and savory all at the same time.
and
I was going to
disgusting
say,
somehow.
it's very confusing.
I thought of it as a beignet. That's the closest thing I can compare it to because
It's a little heavier than
I've
a beignet.
had a beignet with like crawfish in it.
Oh.
So it's like a savory beignet.
I've never had a savory
Have
beignet.
you
That's
heard the
interesting.
common
highly
name
recommend
for the
it.
kolache? The
Uh-uh.
working man's vernacular?
K-ball.
Have you ever heard, if I say the words, a pig in a blanket, does that?
Oh yeah, I've heard
yeah,
of a
we're
pig
from
in a
North
blanket, but
Carolina, man.
that's something different.
Kind of the same, though.
Not
Right?
quite.
No, because the pig pokes out of that blanket.
That's a good
Yeah.
I
point.
didn't see. I still don't know how they got all that stuff in that red ball.
You like the surprise
I couldn't find the hole.
sausage and goo.
I looked everywhere for the hole.
There was no hole.
The first 10 minutes was just I had my tongue all over the outside of that thing, looking for the hole.
There's a place between
You want to know
here
what you're
and
getting
Dallas.
into.
Whenever Bernie or I drive up to Dallas, there's this place that we always stop at. It's in a town called West Texas. West, Texas. Not confusing at all.
Okay.
got it.
All right.
And it's this place called the Czech Stop. Czech, like Czechoslovakia. And they have a huge selection of kolaches, and it's like right off the highway.
Is
So,
it like a gas station?
Yeah, it's absolutely
situation?
like a gas station, convenience store kind of thing.
This town is known for 2 things. the Kolache bakery, and the fertilizer plant that blew up.
It blew up like 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that one.
Yeah, it was a big explosion, and it was funny because all the photos from it were people from the check stop taking photos of this big like plume of smoke.
Yeah,
I
you can
guess.
see the check stop in a lot of those photos.
And everyone had stopped there because everyone stops there. It's exactly halfway to Dallas. But the name of the town is West Texas. That's
West
the name of the
Texas.
town. There's so many towns in Texas. You can literally find a name. Every name is probably a Texas
Right.
town. There's a Cut and Shoot, Texas. I've never been there.
I think there's
but
Iran, Texas.
Paris, Texas. That's
Oh,
a bigger
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all every name. They're all taken. I think even Austin used to be called Waterloo, right? I think it used to be Waterloo, Texas. Then after Stephen F. Austin illegally brought all those people into Mexico,
Take it easy.
they renamed the
Take
town
it
to
easy.
Austin,
It's not a
Texas.
political podcast.
And do you guys
What is that? Cut and Shoot City Hall.
cut and shoot? cities?
Wow, look at that.
Do you guys, when you're like driving somewhere in Texas, because our experience with Texas is you like fly into a city, you experience a little bit of it. I mean, Austin, Dallas. I guess that's the only.
Never been to Houston.
Never been to Houston.
Texas,
Great
Austin's right in the middle of the 3 of the top 10 cities in the nation by population: San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston.
And Austin's number
Yeah,
11.
never been to San Antonio.
That's crazy. There's
Yeah.
no way.
So it's like,
But we drove Interstate 40 across when we moved to LA.
Right.
But,
From where?
So from North Carolina.
Right. Okay.
So we have that's our only driving experience of Texas. But like so, you know, it's the cliche of it never stops. But there's nothing that's going while you're going.
yeah. I
No,
think when
and
you
west of Austin, there's nothing.
Yeah.
when you drive in on I-10, if you're coming, if you're driving west, you come in like an Orange, Texas, on the eastern border of Texas. There's
Yeah.
a sign on I-10 that says, "Welcome to Texas, El Paso, 1,000 miles."
Yeah, that's my question is for you guys when you're driving around the state, do you like prep? Like do you have to prep like a post-apocalyptic, well, I'm going to another town. I've got to make sure I can get there. It's like
So
rustle up my chuck wagon type situation.
we kind of had that because in the first time we ever went to Comic-Con was 2006, where we had our own booth.
Yeah.
2007?
2006.
You know, T-shirts were
05.
like
It was 05.
they were the big part of our business model because T-shirts were like the
had a
currency of the
trailer.
internet. So we had a trailer and filled it up with T-shirts and other stuff and went out to Comic-Con with that. And first of all, it was Comic-Con's in the summer, so it was so hot in West Texas. Towing this thing behind my pickup truck.
You talking about the town West Texas?
No, this is Western Texas,
Okay,
which is
good.
not a town. I don't
All
think.
right, let's be clear.
Yeah, anything west of, a little bit west of Austin. There's a couple more towns like Fredericksburg, where
we
they
just talked
have
about.
Yeah, a lot of German population there. But then west of that, there's nothing until El Paso, and it's like 450 miles of nothing. Just like it looks like a Roadrunner cartoon.
Yeah.
out that way.
Yeah.
And
Was Gus in the trailer?
no, it was Gus was not. Where were you? You probably were on a plane.
No, I'm not. I wasn't a sucker. I wasn't going to make that drive. I flew out there.
You're eating
good. I'm
warm
looking out
nuts
for
on a
you.
plane somewhere. But it was so hot, I could literally, if I watched it, I could watch the fuel gauge go down. And then it was like 200 miles between gas stations out there. And they have signs that tell you it's going to be a big, long distance.
Yeah.
But I thought if this car runs out of gas, it's,
I'm gonna have to eat T-shirts.
yeah, or I'm going to die. It's like 115 degrees on the thermometer.
I played a little loving prank on Bernie as he drove away. I remember that trip. We had just finished loading the trailer up, and he was driving a pickup that we use for work-related purposes, and that truck has seat heaters. So, like, we finished loading up the trailer. Bernie was about to get in the truck, so I put his seat heater on maximum.
Yeah.
Because it was the middle of summer. It's like, all right, see ya, have a good trip. How far out were you before you realized the seat
Killed
heater
our
was
fuel
on?
economy on top of everything else. But it was even coming back, like driving back from LA, it's just such a long slog. Like the only thing between, or coming back from San Diego, I should say, is between California and Texas, basically New Mexico and Arizona. Then you get to Texas and we're like, oh, great, we're in Texas. We were halfway home at that
Right.
point. And it's just a lot of place.
Nothing out there.
A lot of it.
I
Yeah.
mean, we hear about. I mean, we've been to Death Valley on a couple of trips. So then you
brag about it.
You start to hear, yeah, just a couple of times.
Death Valley.
It's pretty great. Yeah, it's a lot of death in Valley.
Ooh.
You hear about people going there. They're like, take the wrong. Oh, I'll take this Google Map shortcut, and then they just die out there.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
have friends who've died in Texas?
From, like, taking a wrong turn?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it could happen.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
Well,
That's good. I'm
there-
glad. I didn't
yeah.
want it. I
think
didn't want the answer to be yes.
Yeah.
There was a family. I'm going to tell the story now that I'm thinking about it. There was a family in a minivan that somehow the dad was like, let's go to Death Valley, guys. and they went on some road and got into a situation where the van was not equipped to continue.
Yeah, because on Google Maps this is a this is a
line
road,
there.
that's a road.
Yeah.
They're both roads. I'm
And-
gonna take this one.
And of course, it wasn't quite the middle of the summer, but it still was getting like 110, 115 degrees. And they found him like a mile from the van and the family in the van.
Yeah.
Just wanted to bring everybody's spirits up.
Yeah.
Tell you that story.
Good job.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
They all enjoy black licorice.
But don't go to Death Valley in a minivan.
There was a guy who just got snowed in somewhere and he survived for 4 days on Taco Bell sauce. Did I read that?
on packets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had it in his car.
Yeah.
That's just going to
Like, I
make me
need-
have an excuse now to leave the Taco Bell sauce in my car. Now I don't have a
in
reason to
case.
bring it out, just in case my car gets
I hope
stuck
that
in
guy.
snowbank.
You know how McDonald's has like a card they'll give some VIPs to get like free McDonald's for life. I hope that guy gets like free Taco Bell for life.
I don't wish that
Or
on
just
anybody.
sauce.
Yeah, it's
like
like
they'll
all-
just give him the sauce.
They'll just deliver it. They'll have a truck show up and hook it up into his hot water heater.
Well, it's probably the perfect thing from Taco Bell to, it lasts a long time. It's both a liquid and a solid.
Yes.
You know?
Hydrated.
I mean, it's kind of perfect.
Hold on. Did you just say sauce is a liquid and a solid?
Yeah, a little bit. It's more of a
little.
plasma.
Suspended.
Taco Bell sauce is a
It's
plasma.
about engineering.
Technically,
It's an
Liquid
amorphous
plasma.
solid like glass.
Don't. Oh, I want to get you guys' opinion on something.
Oh, great. What are you going to do with this? What are you gonna do
So
with this?
there is
How many sticks of butter?
there is a continent at the very southern region of the Earth.
This is our whole
Where the
relationship
South
has
Pole
descended
is.
into arguments that nobody else cares about.
How do you pronounce that continent where the South Pole is?
All right, I'm
Just
not
to
going
say
to think
naturally.
about it. I'm
Yeah,
just going
yeah.
to say it naturally. Antarctica.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is I typically would just say Antarctica. But in response to this question, in which I know someone is looking for the technically correct pronunciation,
So that's
at that
throw
point,
around words like correct.
Do keep talking about technically.
I would say it's Antarctica.
He still said Antarctica, not like you say it, Antarctica.
Antarctica.
That's like you're saying Antarctica. Anyway, I'm done.
Can I hear it a few more times?
I wasn't.
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
You say Antarctica.
Yes, I do. I just said it. I know that's how I
Hey, can
say
you
it.
just say yours and let him say his and let us decide?
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Well,
That T's too much.
I think you're pushing a little too hard
the
on
part
that.
Yeah,
of the
you're
T?
definitely wrong.
Thank you.
I don't know what I'm with Bernie. I was
But the C's there for a reason. You know, you can't take the sea out of Antarctica, then it's no longer an island.
I thought it was like a pirate metaphor. I thought you went like
It's like the
"Oh,
line- You
fishermen.
can't take
the
the
sea
sea."
is there.
It's like the line for the roller coaster. The sea is there for Antarctica.
Have you ever met anybody
The what?
who's been to Antarctica?
The sea is there for Antarctica.
No, but I've
what?
talked to
Antarctica.
you guys know Gavin from Slumber
Yeah,
Guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
We keep saying we're gonna touch all 7 continents. And I was on The Amazing Race when they did the social media season. So I got to knock a couple different things out. I haven't been to Africa and I haven't been to
Antarctica.
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 Good job.
Thank you.
Antarctica.
We've got a couple of friends who had been to like
Death Valley?
3 continents in they're in a van in Death Valley. They had been to like 3 continents in a short amount of time, and then they were like, "You want to try to go for all 7 this year?" And they
they
made all
did.
7 in 12 months.
Wow.
Who are you talking about?
Jaden and Caroline.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, you don't
I don't base my friendship
you don't
on
listen to them as much as I do.
where people have traveled.
But the interesting thing that I learned is that
Fight.
the trip, the boat ride to Antarctica
you mean
through
Antarctica.
through the Southern Ocean. Like if you go on, I like to watch those YouTube videos where it's just the big ships in the Southern Ocean and they're like 100-foot waves,
Yeah.
that kind of situation. That's like the craziest ocean in the world down there. And so you have to go through it, of course, because there's only a certain amount of time you can actually fly in and out. And they were on the ship, and this woman who was kind of organizing thing, she was like, you need to make sure that you've always got something to hold on to as we go through the Southern Ocean, because it gets so rough that we've never had a trip where someone hasn't broken a bone.
Wow.
And everybody's like, okay. And one of the dudes with them broke his leg.
Really? Just getting tossed around.
Yeah, because he didn't listen.
Holy
So if you're
cow.
ever going through the Southern Ocean on your way to Antarctica,
Close.
strap in.
See, I act like that in my own home. I'm always holding on to something because of the earthquake thing that can happen.
Yeah, there's.
It's like when I bought my house, they made me sign this form that said I knew that I was on a fault line.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I was like, well, had to bring out a geologist to like assess it. And I'm like talking,
That has to
geologist
be like
does
then
an
your whole
assessment.
neighborhood, though, right? It's not like a thin little fault line, right?
Well, it went beside. They were able to pinpoint part of it. Yeah, because you think they're huge, and a lot of them are huge, but there's an offshoot, and they get very detailed with
Like
the
a
geologist
tributary?
coming out. Yeah, like
Well,
a
'cause it's
tributary
like next to
in
the
between me
canyon.
and my neighbor. And I was like, well, what would happen? I'm like getting nervous if I should back out on this purchase. I'm like, what would happen if it did quake here? You know? And she said, well, I just think your lot would gain elevation. And I'm like, great. I'm actually going to pay more now.
You'll get a view.
But I hold on to everything when I'm walking around. Like always keep an anchor.
I've never been in an earthquake. I'm super fascinated by them.
I was in
Have you all
one.
been in many?
Actually, there were 2 in 1 year that I felt. Been in LA 9 years now, but it was probably 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like in a couple of weeks, there were 2 that I felt. And one, I was like sitting there watching TV, and something started shaking. I thought I was having something. It was happening in my mind. That's not having any point of reference for it. I was like, oh, I'm having a stroke. And I was like, oh no, this is an earthquake.
But they're very localized. So.
And then a globe fell off
a glove fell off.
a shelf
Oh, okay.
like a
and split in
metaphor.
2.
Yeah.
It's like
Really?
the Earth is splitting in half.
Was there anything
Wow.
in it, like licorice?
That earthquake was
Yeah,
super on the nose.
It was full of good and plenties.
Half the earth gained elevation.
Yeah, the only earthquake that I felt was I was sleeping and it felt like someone pushed my bed against the the headboard against the wall once. It was just like bam, but it wasn't a shaking thing. I woke up and I looked at my wife. I thought that she had like shimmied the bed or something.
That sounds more like a paranormal activity kind of
Yeah,
thing.
right.
Yeah, the one and
Like
done kind
an
of a
evil
thing.
spirit just moves your bed.
Yeah, that was not an earthquake.
Oh no, is that what it was, guys?
That's what I had. I was at E3, I think, or something in LA, and there was some party, and I got out of it. I was just having an antisocial evening, and I was laying in my hotel bed doing nothing, and just staring at the ceiling, and all of a sudden, I felt it, like everything moved just a little bit, just a little bit. It was just enough to where I could feel it. And if I hadn't been laying down, there'd been no way I would have felt it. And it totally made it worth not going to that party, because now I can say I've been in an earthquake.
Yeah.
Now I'm jealous.
Are you?
Yeah, I've never
It's
been
a
in one.
dangerous situation, man.
Want to feel one?
Really?
Yeah, not a big one, just a little one, like you did.
Just enough.
Little feel.
You
Like
want to tick that box.
the earth moved. Check. Done.
Well, I had to get earthquake insurance, wildfire insurance, and mudslide insurance.
Really?
Wow. The trifecta
For
the,
my house.
The California 3.
I don't think you had to get mudslide. But I'm like, apparently where we live is kind of at the bottom of the foothills of the Angeles National Forest, and like 100 years ago, there was this giant mudslide that came through the mountains and then covered what they call the Crescenta Valley, which is like the valley north of the valley, with like 12 feet of mud, and like hundreds of people died.
Wow.
And the Army Corps of Engineers went in and put all these dams in the mountains. So if you go hiking in the mountains, there'll just be this
Would never do that.
dam there with nothing. It's just waiting for a mudslide. There's no water because it's California. There's no water. Yeah, and there's one of those like basically right next to my house, just this dam. And I think about my house just moving into it from time to time.
12. What would 12 feet of mud
That sounds-
be like? Yeah,
yeah.
that's 2 stories.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, that's halfway up on a second floor, basically.
Yeah.
At that point.
And you got to have a lot of faith. Like those dams probably haven't really been tested. Like you got to hope that when it's
Right.
go time that they were built correctly.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing they're talking about now is, of course, everybody talks about the big one, the earthquake, but now the latest thing is the big rainstorm that's inevitable in the Southern California area.
What's that?
Which is basically they're like just given the weather patterns and what's happening with climate change, like in the extreme weather patterns, there's going to be like a flood that like a 500-year flood in LA would be catastrophic and probably kill more people than the big one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm full of good news.
I feel like it's been raining a lot more in LA. You guys are probably.
It's raining right now.
Yeah, you're not like the typical people from Los Angeles who grew up there. You grew up in North Carolina where it actually rains, right? So, what part of North Carolina? Let me guess. Because I don't know this about your history. You guys seem like
Uh-oh.
Asheville.
And what's your point of reference for North Carolina? Like, what are you pulling from with this guess?
My dad lived in North Carolina during his retirement years.
Okay.
Yeah. And
where did he live?
Transylvania County.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
What?
So,
Yeah, there's Transylvania, yeah.
Dad's a vampire.
When we were in 8th grade, there's 100 counties in North Carolina, and we were required to memorize all 100 counties and then write them on a map.
What a nightmare. Why?
Yes, an actual nightmare. It was horrible.
Because you never know when we're going to lose all historical knowledge, and they're going to be like, we need a kid who can tell us what the counties are.
Well,
Heaven forbid they teach you something useful. You got to memorize the stupid counties.
Yeah, we had to take a blank map and put them all in.
it's good if you're a local weatherman, because they're always talking about the counties.
Right.
So I was kind of into that because I wanted to be a weatherman.
Really?
Yeah.
I got a buddy in college who was the same way. He was an engineer, was really into meteorology. And
Oh, I didn't want to be a meteorologist.
you want to be a weatherman?
I just wanted to be a weatherman.
You just want to be
I didn't want to know anything. I just wanted to be on television and talk about it.
Yeah, back in the day, you could just be the personality, and there was some guy in the back who knew what you were
the
doing.
Vanna White of weather.
Now you gotta have it
That's
all.
what I
Just
wanted to
point
be.
to the temperature.
Apparently we have
So,
254
but
counties
Transylvania County,
254 counties. That must be the most
I think
in any state.
that's in the western part of the state.
It's close to Asheville, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is my frame of reference. And it's a very
we were
artistic
outside of
town.
Raleigh.
Raleigh, okay.
Yeah,
So
we were
not
in the
Asheville.
middle of nowhere.
I'll
In
take that
between
as a compliment to
Raleigh and
Asheville.
Fayetteville.
The Asheville guess is a compliment, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
Asheville's
you're
cool.
saying we've got an
and,
Asheville mindset, man.
you got the hillbilly thing mixing with the hipster thing. There's a lot of hipster billies
Oh.
in
That's
Asheville.
a good
A lot of
place.
good food.
That's a
interesting.
really good place, Asheville.
A lot of trees. Well, a lot of trees everywhere. I miss those.
Yeah, well,
Those type of-
I got 2 boys, and I would take them every fall, and it's always a gamble. You got to try to hit this 2-week window. But I would
the
take them there to
leaves
try
changing.
to see color, because we don't have seasons in Texas.
We had the leaves actually turned
did.
colors this fall.
we
It
did
was
have
really
we actually
bizarre.
had an autumn this year.
Normally it
Weird.
goes from green to brown. This year it was actually kind of pretty in Austin.
weird.
It was really weird. Like there were news reports about it, and there were articles in the newspaper.
pretty here.
Why are the leaves colors this year?
I didn't know you didn't get a fall here.
No, not at all. Not really.
Yeah, y'all missed our winter earlier this week.
We have a lot of live oaks here too, which they're flipped. Like they lose a lot of their foliage in the spring, like right before you have to cut them at certain times of the year. So that's a lot of it here. But Austin's a weird town too because it's a very green town, which makes it horrible for allergies. If you have allergies, it's tough. And you guys have been doing this for a while. I think you would probably agree. I mean, you just did this really cool thing with Smosh.
Yeah.
But I think it's, especially from people who've been doing it for a while, it's a time of transition. Like there's a lot of different things going on now, and a lot of different models that are being tested, I think. And I've been talking to a lot of people lately, and was talking with Ian at Smosh at one point about what he was going through, and Jocelyn from Clever about their whole thing with Defy. And there's other people I've been talking to though too, and there's always this conversation because we're in Austin that they talk about what would be if we moved out of LA and moved to Austin?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying they specifically said that, but people I've talked to have said that. And I always encourage people, Austin is a great town, and I'm really glad that we're here, but it's totally different than when we started here. It's a much
sure.
bigger city, like you said, 11th largest. And I always point people towards North Carolina, Asheville, and Chattanooga if they're looking at what is the next, I think, cool place to be in.
Yeah, because if you're doing stuff that's internet based primarily, and we talked about this for years, geography doesn't play as big of a deal into it. I think sometimes it can help being in LA. It's definitely easier to get people around.
Well, you
There's a lot
guys
of
made the
connections,
move.
people you can work with.
I'm curious
Right.
about that because you started 2003.
Yeah.
You have the .com, which is very similar to Origin, but we had the discussion at one point that he's talking about, which is hey, we can kind of do this from anywhere. It would make sense to go to LA to do this, but we could go to the middle of Kansas where the cost of living is way cheaper.
We talked about going to Detroit.
Yeah, we did at one point.
Yeah?
Buying
Really?
a block of houses in Detroit. And
We found houses you could buy for $7,000.
Right.
They probably ended up bulldozing
we
them
read
by
about
now.
that on Quark, I think, and had this brilliant idea to do that. But we
I
chose
get
to
it,
stay in
though.
Austin. Yeah,
I get it. I mean, for us, we were each married with kids when we were really starting in earnest to see if we could make a go at being entertainers.
Sure.
Right.
Oh, I like that.
Rhett's father-in-law, who owned a bunch of dentistries and had this corporate office in the one town over in Lillington, where like, one town over from where we grew up. He had this basement that he wasn't using. He basically let us move into the basement and make that our studio.
Right.
Basically for free. I don't know what did he charge us anything, or did he I think he made
He just
us.
had expectations.
He had there might have been some strings attached. You're gonna make a commercial for my dentistry, and
We did make him.
stuff like that.
We made him a commercial.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me. I always love those early beginning things that people might not know about that are necessary to kind of
It's kind of like our wedding. That we made one wedding video for our friend Maria.
Yep.
We never did that again, and we made one commercial for his dentistry, and we never did that again. But the the concept of the commercial was, we cast all these people who, amongst our friends and family members, to come in, and we set up this backdrop, and we tried to make it look real cool. Like we bought a
pro mist filter
for it's basically we put a filter on the front of the camera that literally made it look like you were shooting through a little bit of mist, because
Right, like
that's
Barbara
kind of
Walters.
It made it seem like they were in heaven.
And then so they were in this heavenly
My grandma was in that
backdrop.
commercial with her dentures.
Oh wow.
Mama Nell.
May she
One of the
rest in peace.
One of the last things she ever did
So what we would
was
do
smile
is
through a pro mist filter.
we had them sit down, and then like kids, adults, old people on their deathbed, like your grandma, coming in, and we just coached them to smile and open their mouths, like open mouth smile,
Open mouth laughing, really.
like well, yeah, because ultimately you wanted that so we had a montage of people smiling and kind of laughing with their mouths open. And then the slogan was, just open wide, we'll take care of the rest. and we didn't even think about how that might be misconstrued.
and they loved the commercial.
And they bought airtime, and they showed it.
Loved it, man.
Just open wide, we'll take care of the rest.
Nice. Words to live by. Really.
Yeah, it's good when you can make a commercial that then can be repurposed for something other than a dentistry. Like, you can use this for two different purposes.
Right.
I don't know what the other purpose would be.
Someone will find out eventually.
Right, they'll figure it out.
You're talking about filming that commercial with some old people. It makes me think of that baked in a buttery flaky crust blooper reel. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that.
No.
It's this internet video where some local restaurant, I think I want to say in Ohio or Wisconsin, they're trying to film this older couple,
And they can't say that?
They have the older man has one line, it's baked in a buttery flaky crust, and it's just take after take of him not saying that line. The wife getting exasperated. Finally, they tell her, "Okay, you say the line," and then she can't do it.
Oh my God.
it's so frustrating to
so somebody
watch.
cut together all the fails.
All the bloopers, right, and just put them all together.
That's my favorite.
But that would have been a brilliant ad.
Yeah, Winnebago Man.
Yeah.
Right.
But they didn't do that, you're saying.
I think they may have ended up putting it on their YouTube channel as well, and you can also watch the final
brilliant.
product.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, smart.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So we did our thing in Lillington for a while, and then we actually started making the local commercials. So this is getting into why we moved to LA. So we started making our local commercials that back in 08, 09, like the Red House Furniture, the Cuban Gynecologist, and some of those purposely kitschy, bad local commercials that had real businesses and real business owners in them. And there we go. There's one right there playing. So a lot of those went really big, and we would make
He really was a gynecologist in Cuba, but an auto salesman in America.
Guard dog. I like the O and the G were slightly overlapping.
yeah. So he's a Cuban gynecologist and an American auto salesman.
Well, join the club.
And so those ended up getting a lot of traction. And, that was the first time anyone outside of just the YouTube audience was interested. Like when we made the Red House Furniture commercial, which is the slogan was where black people and white people buy furniture. It
was a racial reconciliation commercial where
inclusive.
furniture was also being sold.
Right.
Yeah. And so we would get people to say things like, I'm a white person and I love the Red House. I'm a black person and I love the Red House. And which I'm not sure you can make that commercial now.
Probably not. Different time.
But in 2009, it was okay. And we talked to CNN. Like CNN wanted, like it was the first time we were like national news. We were like, oh, there's something about this is really resonating. And then, long story short, a bunch of production companies in LA were interested in developing it into a television show. We ended up getting a season on IFC, and that was the initial move to LA.
God, that makes sense.
And at that point, we were like, I think we were kind of a mindset that, you know, we've been in North Carolina for a long time. We had traveled to LA to work on stuff. The idea of moving everybody out there, I think more than anything was just exciting. It was just like, oh, this would be an awesome change of pace. It wasn't so much this will be the next evolution of our business, because what we thought was happening at that time, we thought we were making the transition. We thought we were like, okay, we came up on YouTube and now we're going into television, you know, and we weren't so naive to think that was, we understood that it wasn't that simple and everything's kind of merging, but I still think we had this idea that, okay, we're kind of transitioning into more of a traditional television situation. And of course, once we got out to LA, we made the season of Commercial Kings. We were sitting around waiting to find out if it was going to get picked up for a second season. And then we started GMM in sort of the interim, because we were like, we need to do something that, even if this thing gets picked up again, is something easy that we can produce a bunch of very quickly. That's a way to kind of maintain a connection with our fan base. So that was the whole idea behind GMM.
We felt like we had lost a connection with our audience because we took time off to make the IFC show. And then the majority of people who watched us didn't have IFC, so they couldn't see the show. So then we were trying to figure out how to maintain that connection, because it was the only thing that we had complete control over. And we knew a part of that was just a daily show, or a daily video, right? So, but then for us, that was, okay, let's make it into a show. We'll sit down at the card table that we sat down behind in some of our first videos back in that Lillington basement. We literally had the same card table out in Rhett's converted garage in his backyard in Sherman Oaks. So that's what, but
can't predict what's going to take off, right?
Right, because at the same time, we also wrote a pilot.
Stay busy,
We wrote a pilot for a scripted half-hour comedy that would feature us and like
going out meetings,
us playing music, like we thought we like wrote a scene and we were like, we have this connection to a connection to a connection to Jack Black, and I bet we can write a scene where he's in the where he was in the opening, and so like we were working on that, and then we were taking meetings and pitching it, and you know, so we were trying to make both of those things happen, but you know, the like Rhett said, the LA of it was just, we had an opportunity that we couldn't say no to, which was the IFC show that then moved us out. But then from our family's perspective, we were like, well, we're going to move out for 6 months. We're not going to do a permanent move. We left our homes furnished. We told our families, our extended families, we're going out for 6 months. We rented furnished apartments because we didn't bring any of our stuff.
When you tell somebody in a relationship with, let's just take a break. And what you really mean is, we're never going to see each other.
Really? Yeah.
You're just slowly peeling the Band-Aid off.
Right. But it seems it's easier.
What was the attitude from your family? Was you guys are actually engineers and this is a phase?
No,
not at that point.
At that point, they were.
They got it.
Yeah, I mean, because we had been doing it for
the local papers had done a couple of articles
and CNN and everything at that point.
Yeah, the CNN.
Yeah.
So the families were completely, you know, both, you know, our wives and kids were obviously they were in. And then our parents and extended family at that point were like, yeah, this is what you guys are supposed to do.
That's great.
And my mom was like, I kind of knew that you weren't coming back, you know, when you moved. I knew that you guys were going to get out there and you were going to love it. And we do. I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, I can't stand LA, and I get that, but we've both from a personal standpoint, just the people we've met, and I think the big thing about a town like LA is just like it can be very difficult to make meaningful connections with people and develop real friendships. We've done that, so it also helped moving out together, you know, so we were kind of like this unit of 9 people, Link and his wife and 3 kids, me, a wife and 2 kids, but then you know, making some meaningful friendships. But then the biggest thing for us was we never really had anyone who had any experience in production at all. We would always have one person sort of come in to help us in North Carolina. And like literally at one point there was just a dude who walked in off the street because the place that we had our studio was an old barbershop. And a guy just would just walk in and start talking. He thought he was coming to the barbershop, I think, the first time, but then he just started talking to us. And then like a couple weeks later, he brought his like 15-year-old son, and then he just left his son there.
Yep.
And then his son was our intern.
Really?
Yeah. And
Like,
then there was
just the way things.
there was another
similar
guy.
things.
Yeah, we have such parallel stories. That
He
crazy.
got dropped off. His parents they drove from Vancouver, and they just dropped him off for the day to hang out with us. We're like, wait, we're not a babysitting service, you know?
Right.
But, and then Gavin was the same way. Gavin started Slow-Mo Guys in order to get a visa to come work at Rooster Teeth in the
Right.
U.S. Yeah, that's
Wow.
why he started the show. And now Slow-Mo Guys is this huge thing.
Yeah.
More subscribers than Rooster Teeth and everything else. It's just weird story.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
Again, you don't know what's going to take off.
Don't know
what's going to really resonate.
we had another guy who showed up because, again, once it doesn't matter if you're interviewed on CNN or whatever, but when you get an article in the local paper,
Yeah, that's a big
that's when everybody around you starts to.
That's when you get the phone calls.
That's when you get the phone calls from like your aunt and like your second cousin and stuff. But we had this guy who then he showed up because looking at the pictures, he figured out where our studio was. His name was Carl, and Carl showed up and he was like, "Guys, I'm not making fun of him. This is just how he talks." He's like, "Guys, I work at the tire plant, but the hours they got me working, I'm on for like 6 days and then I'm off for like 4. I don't have anything to do. I just want to come and help you guys out." And then we're like, okay. Turned out to be the nicest guy, like super helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't, his point of reference was making tires.
Right.
But he found a way to help us
There's
out.
a lot of crossover.
And he showed up one day and he was like, "I want to give y'all something." And he like pulls out these scissors, the biggest ass scissors you can ever imagine. Like literally, it's like bush shears,
Like
They're
tin
for, they're
snips?
for cutting
like
tires.
bush
Yeah.
snippers. And they would cut rubber with them. And he was like, "I thought you guys could use these." And we have
We had them for a very
on the
long
set?
time.
That's amazing.
no, we cut tires with them.
Dude,
It's like a
you're
side business we have.
Someone
Anybody
cuts you
need-
off in traffic, you follow them, and then just
big-ass
there's an
scissors.
extortion, the old snip.
Yeah.
Cut off their valve stems.
But you guys must have stuff around like your set and your offices that I have this where I walk through and it's like a kitchen magnet or something. It's like, I remember that thing from 12 years ago. How the hell did it get all the way
yeah.
through these different offices and get to here?
Even here behind us, like a lot of this stuff that we have behind me and behind you, it's like old, like holdover stuff that
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
kind of we've coiled onto and just it makes its way onto the set.
Yeah, that's the way the GMM set is. And at this point, there's just so many weird. The way we're creating a prop for just a one-time use for GMM now.
Yeah.
They're having to purge
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff.
Yeah,
it's
I-
where
decide what to keep.
You're just storing a lot of stuff.
We
for
lost
this
a lot
point.
of stuff. I mean, because when we moved out, we put both of our families' stuff into like you had those pods, and then they would deliver it across the country. And then
Yeah.
we had, we had a bunch of stuff in a U-Haul, and when we towed my minivan, so like our one U-Haul had like half of it was your family stuff, half of it was my family stuff, and we had all this stuff at our studio that we couldn't bring. So we just publicized a yard sale.
Oh.
Like we had fans and community members and just anyone who had read that article in the News and Observer, I guess, showed up, and we had an auction.
Really?
For all of our
Props and
all of our stuff.
memorabilia?
Yeah.
Because
Probably worth a lot now.
we had made like one of the first videos that was taken off of our website and put on YouTube was a parody of Pimp My Ride called Pimp My Stroller, where we literally physically pimped out a double stroller to make it look like kind of like the Batmobile if it were made out of black cardboard, but it had ground effects and spinners on
Yeah,
it.
it did.
Nice. Of course.
And
Has to.
and it had a chocolate milk delivery system to the to like my daughter and his son's mouths. But anyway, we
Peanut
couldn't,
butter
we couldn't bring that peanut butter spoon. We couldn't bring that across the country.
No.
But somebody bought it, and
From time to time, it pops up.
yeah, like pictures of it
I
in
think
somebody's
He
garage.
keeps it somewhere. Yeah.
There's like an argument happening between a husband and wife about getting rid of a pimped out stroller.
Yeah.
But I believe it still lives on.
My moment like that is so much less wholesome than yours. But when we were purging stuff, do you want to bring this up?
I think I know where you're
Bring it
going
up.
with this.
Yeah,
Probably
please do.
it was one of those moments of like, what am I doing with my life? Because we were going through stuff and like, get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of this. And somebody goes, do we need to keep this? And I said, I said, no. I go, we have way better Nazi flags than that one. So, because we were doing sketch comedy, and I was like, what did I just say out loud? It's just like, what has my life become?
We also had we had a new employee start several years ago. God, it was probably been like 6 or 7 years ago. And I had to take him down to the storage unit to show him like where we had some computers and stuff. And we're going through boxes like this, explain this is this server, this was this server, this is this machine, that's the box of porn. And he was like, what? I was
Yeah,
like,
this guy would
oh
send
yeah,
us-
we there's someone in our community who works in the porn industry, and he'll send
We're
us
to
stuff.
Jenna
I was like-
Jameson's company.
Yeah, I was like, you can go through the box. If there's anything you want, just go ahead and take it.
wow.
Anyways,
Just mags.
it's just like nonchalant. Like it wasn't even a weird thing to me at the time. And I was like, that's a weird first day for you, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
I'm showing you where the porn stash is and telling you just to help yourself to it.
And that employee made a lot of money from the lawsuit that came after that.
I don't know if I should laugh at that because
Yeah,
I
well,
can't tell if it was a joke.
No, we do.
no,
Luckily,
Okay,
knock
that
on
was a
wood.
joke.
Yeah. But I just say, before we get too far away, I know you have to do an ad read,
good,
but before we get too far away from the LA discussion, one of the things I would love to see more of you guys do, and being in LA, I think helps this with collaborations. I loved you guys in Dirty 30. In Grace and Hannah and Mamrie's movie
well, thank you.
as dude number 1 and dude number 2.
Yeah, that were our,
I
our
thought,
names. Yeah.
I thought Mamrie was a really great performance for her, but you guys, when you guys stole the show,
Yeah, she
I thought
did great. Oh, you thought we stole the show?
I thought you guys were fantastic. Yeah, I think I might have told you that maybe before, like at VidCon or something. But I've always remembered y'all's performance.
Now
in
it's
that.
on camera, so it's official.
Yeah, it's official.
You've
now.
officially
Thank
said
you.
that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, well we can. They're working on the third one.
Yeah.
No, I'm just. Can I give a scoop? Mamie's working
about to
on
say, I
Dirty
hadn't-
50.
I hadn't heard that.
I guess that would mean she's 50.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not fair.
Eventually, just go to just dirty.
It's just
Yeah.
I say filthy 50.
That's
No.
not a wig, by the way. That was my actual hair. Like seriously, that was my
Oh,
hair.
wow, it's kind of hard to remember.
I mean, I thought that was a wig, but it's my hair.
It's your hair.
Wow.
Here, I'm going to read this. I want to remind everyone this episode of the Rooster Teeth podcast is also brought to you by.
You know, I was thinking about,
Like goat teeth.
which you guys will probably remember when you talk about things that you can't predict how they take off. I don't know if we've ever talked about this publicly ever,
Good. I like this.
which is 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. You guys just did this really cool thing. Mythical did with Smosh, and we've always kind of had that philosophy too, trying to find other really cool people to work with.
Yeah.
And early on, there were these guys that wanted to make a ninja cartoon. And we were working on it, because we had animation, and we were working on an animated version of Red vs. Blue, like traditional Saturday morning animation.
Yeah.
So we started working on this. I don't want to give too much away because the property is still something they probably want to still sell. But it was a story about ninjas trying to get out of the world of ninjas and having difficulty doing that. And animation takes a while to make.
Yeah.
And so they would turn in scripts and performances, and then 6 months they'd be doing reviews, and they're like, they were those kind of guys of like, we just want to make stuff.
Yeah.
And so they said, how about if we start doing like coming soon, like promotional material? I said, that doesn't work on the internet. People just want to click here and go watch it. So we'll do all that once the show is ready to go. And they were really wanting to do it. So I said, sure, go for it. So they started doing this promotion for the cartoon where you could ask one of the ninjas a question.
What?
And the show, Ask a Ninja, became such a fucking runaway hit that we never
That
made the
is
cartoon.
great.
And it was a conversation of like, you guys don't need our help to do this. Just do this. It's
Not
like
only did you lose a job, you were also wrong about telling them not to make something.
the promotional material, right? And dude, it goes even a layer deep because Kent and Doug are the guys that made it, and Kent specifically was who we knew.
Kent Nichols and Doug.
Gosh.
Well, let's just say
That's
it's
embarrassing.
Set me up.
Sorry.
What is Doug's last name? Well, I can look it up. But yeah, Kent Nichols. And he was the guy who showed me YouTube for the first time. And so we went through, we looked at it, and he goes, you can host your videos here. And, and I said, but you go to their website? You don't go to your own website? You can't just host the videos on your site? He goes, no, you have to go there, but they can search for you and everything. And I looked at the site, and I turned to him and I go, nobody's going to use this fucking site.
Yeah, that's how we felt too.
We initially viewed YouTube as competition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we did. We said, when people said, why don't you have a YouTube? We said, because we have a website.
Yeah. Why would you need that?
YouTube's for people who don't have a website. But Ask a Ninja, I remember we watched that show on iTunes.
Yeah,
Right,
it's a video podcast.
And we were trying to do the same thing early on. We were like, oh, this video podcast, this is the best interface. Clearly, this is where the future of video
Well, because Apple legitimized it in our minds as a platform. So, I mean, that's why when we first started making content specifically for the internet, I mean, the stuff before, like the Pimp My Stroller and the sketches and the music videos that we had made, those are things that we were just making that then, oh, by the way, let's put it on the internet. You know, when we started making things for the internet, the first thing we made was sitting down next to each other with mics, making a video podcast. We called it the Rhett and Link Cast. And that was the first thing that we did. And it was because Apple video podcast made sense to us.
Right.
And like Ask a Ninja was a big part of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were saying, what's our Ask a Ninja? I'm glad we didn't ask you what we should do.
We've been like, don't do that. Make a cartoon on this thing.
What a terrible idea.
Yeah, wait a year and make a cartoon.
That's amazing though, how connected that was, and I didn't realize the association.
Well, I don't think we've ever really talked about it before.
Maybe very briefly.
I mean, yeah, and even so, it's like, you know, especially once they were like taken off, like I said, they didn't need our help. It's like we didn't want to make it seem like we were trying to take credit for anything. You know, that we were,
There we go.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you see,
Babies.
so you see how that became the Rhett and Link Cast became a precursor for what is Good Mythical Morning. It was always in the back of our heads. We were always kind of doing that. Let's sit shoulder to shoulder and have a conversation.
I should go back to that look.
But if you listen to my voice, Stevie is giving me such a hard
Your
time lately.
posture's so much better now.
My voice has changed. Like I was a grown ass man. I had children, and my voice was like a totally different register, and I would kind of whisper.
Southern gentleman.
Yeah, I would kind of whisper talk.
Really?
I don't. Yeah,
It was a little
so
strange.
weird.
Just a little strange to watch.
It's funny to see
Or
that.
maybe
like,
it's strange now. Maybe that's my normal.
we had it took us so long to decide to really start doing a podcast. You know, we started with audio. We didn't, jump straight into video. We did audio only for the first, I think, 2 years of the podcast. And by the time we started the podcast, the company was already almost 6 years old. You know, we'd moved through a couple of offices, and the audience had kept asking for it.
We
You know,
were
they
early
kept
to online
asking-
video and late to just about everything else.
Yeah.
Including YouTube.
They kept asking when we were going to do a podcast, and to us that just seemed, at the time, it seemed dumb. It was like we didn't think anybody was interested to listen to whatever we had to say. You know, we in the early days it was just like, what are we working on? What's going on?
Yeah.
Kind of like a behind the scenes look. And it's like, do people really care about that? And it really took off from there. And at first when we started, it's like you said, we just put down mics on a table and just said, all right, we're going to talk. Here's a few things maybe we'll talk about. And now we argue at each other for an hour and a half every
We
week.
debate.
One of the things that I regret over the years is that we isolated ourselves. Like we really didn't communicate with other people. Like I mean, the fact that we met so late is just I feel like a shame. I mean, there's so much
like-
we could have learned from you guys, from so many other people in the YouTube community, and because like we were not an active part of that community. Like you hear like DeFranco talk about how he came up, as an example. I mean, that was not our experience at all. We were studying it as like at arm's length as competition. Like, oh, who are these Barrettes and Beretta guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we can do that. But it was never, let's talk to these guys. So I think that's a big regret as far as not getting involved in the community aspect. But it seems like
But for us, we felt like we were between two worlds. Like there was this
Yeah.
new media thing, as it was called back then, and then there was the old world. And a lot of things that we did as a business, we had to do early on because we had to host our own videos. And if there was no YouTube, there were no pre-roll ads. Those just didn't exist. So you couldn't just hit a button and you turn on pre-roll ads. So we had to do things like subscriptions and merchandise, which became these super progressive business models after the golden age of pre-roll ads came around. But they were really, to us, they were the things that worked from old media, and they made sense for us to be sustainable.
yeah, that's interesting because for us, our minds went to we got to get sponsors. So we were cold calling sponsors and saying, "Oh, we've written this song about how your iPod dies and how it's a conspiracy from Apple to put in a doom seed." And I mean, one of the few people that we did know was Justine. So we're like, let's do a collaboration with you.
Son of a bitch.
And then we so we knew.
I got this Apple Watch. I'm sorry to interrupt your story.
yeah.
She keeps sending me these competitions, 7-day competitions. She does yoga like 4 times a day. It's just like I gotta say no to these competitions that she sends me. Let me see what
really?
she's doing today. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
She's not sending me competitions, but
She has 720 points. God damn it.
We used well, I don't want to say we used her in a video. She appeared in a video.
She collaborated.
She collaborated with us, but
Long
I mean,
distance
so we got a
collaboration.
sponsor. We just reached out to someone who repairs iPods, and so
Yeah, that's the route we ended
like
up taking.
subscription service. Or I wish we would have thought about that. Like I said, I wish we would have been talking back then.
It's funny you say that because we called our premium members, our subscription members, sponsors.
Back at the point in time.
Back in the day when we started, like we viewed them as our sponsors,
Sure,
kind of like crowdsourcing
Right.
that, yeah. Instead of one lump sum, a lot of little bits.
And what was the value proposition for them? Like, what was the first thing you were selling? I don't know if this is too inside baseball.
No. It was inspired by them because Red versus Blue was a weekly production, and it was about 5 minutes of animation a week that we would make, and it was about 4 or 5 people that worked on it. So Monday I'd write it. Tuesday also.
Yeah, right. Wink, wink.
Tuesday I would also write it. It was supposed to be, but it always go into Tuesday. And then Tuesday and Wednesday we would record and cut the audio because we'd make it like a radio play first, and then we would act out the animation on Thursday to the actual cut audio.
Okay.
And then Friday it would come out. So you work all week. You guys know this. You work on these things. You're like, how is the audience going to like this? The community, are they going to enjoy this? And you put this video out. And sometimes it'd be like 3 a.m. when we'd post it, and you're waiting. You see like people downloading the video, and it's got a 5-minute runtime, and so it's like 5 minutes. It's like, oh man, are they gonna like this? Are they gonna hate it? What? And it's like, here comes the first comment, and it's like, did they like it? And then the first comment is first. It's like the first post, and we were so annoyed by that. But
Pretty
then
special, though.
we had a conversation of, this is people telling us what they find valuable.
Yeah.
Is that in a world where you can watch anything, you can't watch everything. You can't watch every 400 hours of video that are uploaded every minute on YouTube. You can't do that. So you got to choose what you watch. And being first is valuable to people, especially if it's, everyone has access to it. So that was
how
our
did they
subscription.
even know about it? Before, there was a certain point after enough people knew about it that you decided to start charging.
Yeah, that was like a month in. We went
A
with
month
this,
in?
We got our first bill. It was $13,000 for bandwidth for hosting these videos.
You were
We're
like-
tech support guys.
It's like, oh no, we're going to go out of business immediately.
Right.
We were technically we were out of business at that point.
Yeah.
Because I was not going to pay
Well,
13
How
grand.
did people find it at first?
Email?
Yeah,
We would
and
burn
we just
CDs
share
and
it.
hand it to each other.
And then what happened? What we did is like
Slashdot.
it's a long forgotten thing. But when we first started, we thought, what are we going to do? We just put a PayPal button on the website. It's like the videos are there. If you like it, you can send us a couple bucks. I mean, no obligation. If you don't, that's fine. Whatever. And people just voluntarily started sending money in. And you have a story about that.
Were you asking how people found out about the subscription service or about the videos?
The videos.
No, the videos. So
But
It wasn't an
well, eventually both.
RVB was not an overnight success, but it was really close to it. And we had worked on, I was 29 when I started Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
We'd worked on tons of stuff all the way through our 20s, trying to have this production or that production, things that would take off. Before that, we made an Apple Switch ad parody with Gus in it, which dates it back to like 2000. One of the first things. And we knew we had made it big. Like you talk about the local newspaper. We were like, wow, we've made it huge because a gaming magazine called us and they wanted to put the video on the CD that they glued to the front of the cover of the magazine that month. And it's like, that was distribution for digital video back then.
right.
And we were like, oh my God, this is incredible. But Red versus Blue was April 1st, 2003. We put out the first episode. We estimate about 3,000 people watched it. And then it got linked on, this 2003, it got linked on Slashdot, on Fark, and Penny Arcade. And it brought our servers down.
All on the same day. It was May 5th, 2003.
Yep. it brought everything down. And then we had about 250,000 people show up to watch the second episode. And by the end of the month, we had 1 million people a week coming. So it was like that.
That is insane.
So we had to figure out things really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
And so you were like, okay, just put a PayPal button up first, but then people responded to that.
Yeah.
It was $10 for 6 months back then, and you could see the episode on Friday versus it would come out publicly on Monday. And then if you were a registered member of the site, it would come out on the site for those members on Sunday.
Yeah.
Before it came out to everyone on the front page on Monday.
Release system. Yeah.
And it was like this benefit, but also it was important to us because if we could space out when people were downloading it, we didn't need as many servers in order to do that.
And also, if you were a premium member, instead of downloading the video at 320 by 240 resolution, you get it at 640 by 480.
Oh, baby.
Full
high,
def.
high quality.
Nice.
Wait, I think it was called high res.
It was called high res.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this because, and thanks for going into it, even though I know a lot of listeners probably are like,
Yeah.
oh, they appreciate and we're a part of this. But for us, I'm fascinated because, I mean, we just launched our Mythical Society, which is a paid exclusive fan club, I'll call it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is powered by Patreon, but we've been very reticent to say the word Patreon because we didn't want people to think that they were enabling content that.
Well, just because we've been so from the very beginning, because it was ad supported, even before it was AdSense supported, it was sponsor supported, and we've always done that. And so we had this hesitancy to say, "Oh, give us money to enable the content." At this point, with the Mythical Society, people are getting like a lot of different stuff that is being enabled by it. But and of course, the Patreon system kind of allows that to happen seamlessly.
But we're really trying to figure out, I mean, the subscription service and how we can make it a valuable experience for those people who are spending money every month,
Right.
to get something that they can get. So it is totally separate content. So there's not we don't have any windowing.
Yeah.
Of
We would
anything.
window some stuff to YouTube. It would take a year to go to YouTube at one point because we
Really?
refused to let go of the .com.
Uh-huh.
But if I may,
Yeah.
I feel like listening to you two talk, it's a very common tone that I hear among digital creators specifically, where there's almost like this feeling that a business model has to be justified. Like, we're making this content and we're doing this, and there's this new service and we're charging. I personally feel we went through that very early on with advertising. Like, even putting advertising, we didn't do it for years on our any of our videos, but then YouTube came along and that's just the way everybody did it.
Right.
Yeah.
And our friends who were a huge inspiration for us, Homestar Runner, they've never done like any ads. Like, they come from that era where they just could never make that step. Although they did local commercial stuff too. There's a pizza company that has a website that looks just like Homestar Runners. It's called Mellow Mushroom. Remember that?
yeah.
Because they made it.
Yeah, they made it. Like you guys with the car commercials. Yeah. And I just love that kind of stuff. But I have a philosophy, and it was a guy who taught us early on when we started the subscription service. And you could pay $10 or $20, and $20 you got a DVD at the end of the season sent to you. And that's when Microsoft showed up, when we started selling DVDs. That's when they had to have a talk with us. But a guy sent us $250.
Yeah.
And we came in and we're like, holy cow. We're like, this is, you made a mistake. This is too much. And he was a little bit older than us. And he goes, no. He goes, I've watched your videos for now the last 6 weeks that you've been putting them out. And that amount of money is whatever you guys want to use it for and do whatever for. That is as much money as I would spend going out to a comedy club with my friends one night to be entertained. And you guys have entertained me for 6 weeks. So just there you go. And it just opened to my eyes too. And it's like, I have that personal philosophy. And we talked about this on Game Time
Just like
recently.
the other week, yeah.
This game came out called Apex Legends. It's a free game, but there's a paid tier for it. And then the gamers are like, oh, did you pay for that skin or did you buy the coins or whatever? And my thing is, yeah, I did that. And it's not because I want the skin or the cool weapon or whatever. I do it because I like the game.
Yeah.
And it's to me, it's like there's a premium level to stuff, but there's so many people that watch you guys and watch GMM, and it's like, I think about the stuff that I watch. Sometimes I don't support things monetarily because of the premium layer. It's because I get so much out of the thing. I buy YouTube Red, for instance, not for the premium shows, even though we have premium shows. I mean, but I buy it because I spend so much fucking time on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like YouTube, $10 a month for YouTube. I spend so much time on there. I will absolutely, that service is worth $10 a month.
Looking at the benefits you get from it, I remember when they launched, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But like you, I was like, I use YouTube all the time. I'll gladly chip in a little bit of money just for, to help the platform and make sure it continues.
And I realize not everybody's in a position to do that, but I definitely think that.
I use YouTube more than I use cable.
To me, it's less about the thing that resonates with me is not chipping in money to support, but you're getting paying for something that's worth paying for. You know, and it's just it's a different model, but it is legitimate. It's not something that you need to apologize for.
Well, but I think that the sort of the apologetic tone comes from the, you know, there's a different relationship that we have with our audience, right? Than a traditional, you know, actor or whatever. Nobody questions a traditional celebrity's motivations for why their contract is $10 million for a movie or whatever it might be. But yet, I feel like regardless of what kind of decisions that we make, any time we're charging X amount of money for a shirt or introducing a new product, it's like there's always that percentage of the audience that's like, money grab.
Oh, sure.
So it's like, you can't be too affected by that. But I think that there's this like, oh, I mean, why are you guys doing this now? Don't you have enough money? It's like, well, that's not how this works. That's
I just think the word, even that there's a word called monetize and it's associated with like digital things, that's a completely made up word. It's like, I don't think Ford says, how are we going to monetize the F-150? You know what I mean? It's like they're creating a business.
Monetize implies that you're finding a way to make money off something you were going to do anyway.
It's just
that's not
we had to make up a new word.
Work.
Yeah, we had to make up a new word that means business.
Going back to your San Diego Comic-Con story, when you drove out there, I remember we had a discussion about that because it cost us more, obviously, to get this truck and drive out there and go out to do this event. We were sitting there, we're like, we might have to charge like another $1 or $2 for our shirts at this event. Is that something we're comfortable with? Like we had that guilt at the time, right? Because it's costing us more to do this. Like we're going to lose money if we don't charge just a little bit more. And we like, oh, what are we going to do? Can we really do that?
Like Rhett said, it's a more direct connection. So I think about what we're asking for. You know, I think about where are people getting this money. You know, I don't think Marvel probably sits around and wonders, where does the money come from that people are using to buy tickets? You know?
Well, and I do appreciate the accountability. And I, in one sense, I think that, you know, I think the primary reason we run our business the way that we do is because we kind of apply our efficiencies to it. We want to be responsible. We want the people who work for us to be paid well, be respected, and
or do cool stuff like be able to, you know, I don't.
But ultimately,
it's Smosh. Smosh is obviously a huge brand, but you guys really helped them in a situation that was pretty dire.
Yeah, I mean, like our philosophy has always been to let's create a great product. Let's be smart about the way we make money off of that product, and let's be smart with the money that we receive from it. And the kind of the vision we've had over the past couple of years is like, you know, we're not getting any younger, and we've been trying. You know, we changed the name of the company from Rhett and Link Inc. to Mythical Entertainment years ago, and the idea behind that was that first of all, the idea of like coming in and seeing Rhett and Link Inc. on a wall in our own, it was just. We are egomaniacs, but like that was just too much. So we wanted to, first of all, this isn't about us. This is about something that we're a part of.
I'm not an egomaniac.
And
throw me in that cauldron.
Well, you have to be somewhat narcissistic just to do this job. I mean, I think we all agree that something, at least a little bit. You know?
It helps.
Yeah. But the idea of creating something where we can support other creators, and like we started having conversations the last couple of years. It's like, how can we take these lessons that we've learned? You know, we've done all this. We've in the same way that you guys have. It's like just by trial and error, you've kind of learned how to run this business and how to create new lines of revenue. It's like, how do we help other people do this? You know, all this story of like YouTubers burning out and people coming up. And of course, we were like similar, like we were late 20s when we got started in this whole thing. So it was like, we already had families and had already had a real job, but you got a lot of kids coming up and they're kind of hitting, they're really striking, you know, goal with their audience at like 17. It's like they're not
hitting a wall of reality.
Yeah, and then it's like they're trying to manage all these expectations. We're like, how can we help this situation? And then right in the middle of while we were trying to figure out what that would look like in terms of a business model, you know, we see the article about Defy shutting down.
Yeah.
And we're like, we just texted Ian. You know, we were like, hey man, just let us know if we can. At that point, we weren't thinking
we would buy Smosh. We were thinking,
Smosh.
If you need a place to crash,
we've got a place. If you want to make some videos here, we've got facilities. And then a couple of, I don't know, maybe a month and a half later, it was like, oh, there might actually be a real opportunity here, to keep this thing going. And it helps to, it answers the need that they had, which is, to make, if Ian didn't find someone, unfortunately, he was in a place where he was going to have to walk away from this brand that he created.
Yeah.
And then, so we were able to kind of keep Smosh going and kind of give them the autonomy that they want to continue building their brand. And then from our perspective, it was like, this is something that we would have imagined building over a period of time with the way that we were thinking about it last year, but to sort of get this turnkey product that is already what you would hope. They got more subscribers than we do already. Yeah. So the idea of having something that's already built, that already has momentum, that already has relevancy, and they have a creative vision that's very intact, it was just like, we can't say no to this.
Yeah, seems like a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And you just got to jump on it, even if you're not quite ready, not quite there.
Yeah.
We were ready to start building something, but I'm so glad that this happened instead, because it was a win-win. It's like we did it for Smosh, we did it for us, equal parts. It was perfect timing, and it was a perfect marriage of two families.
Serendipity. So much of this stuff is about timing too.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man.
You can't ever predict that.
Yeah, I think we have such an appreciation for that, because the way things have changed so quickly. Everything we've talked about, you tweak the timing by a month or two, and it potentially falls apart.
Yeah.
Well, and that's become our whole philosophy at this point. Is like, we say yes to things a lot of times because we're like, I don't know if this is a good idea, but it's going to lead to something. Like, and this is, it all kind of goes back to, like a year and a half ago, YouTube came to us and said, we want to do some AVOD stuff that we want to support. What is the enhanced version of Good Mythical Morning?
Yeah.
We want to give you guys like a TV budget to make half hour content every single day. And that ended up being this multi-segmented GMM where we were doing like 3 or 4 videos every single day. It was absolute hell to create because it was just so much work.
It's a lot.
But we had, just based on the idea that we knew we were growing, we rented out the studio next to us, and then just in time, we had rented this new space. YouTube comes and says, we want to make this show. So we had to hire a bunch of people to make the new version of the show. So we had a facility for them. That was crazy. We learned so much about production, but we were like, this is not sustainable. There was a part of us that was like, we hope they don't come back and ask for more. They didn't come back and ask for more. And then we were like, okay, now we've got this studio. Sure, something will come up. A few months pass, and then the whole Defy thing happens. Yeah. And so it was like, we had these,
and Link was right there with the spreadsheet going.
Exactly.
It's going to mathematically eliminate the studio.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. So half of it. I'd say that the vast majority of the things that have worked for us never worked as they were originally intended.
No.
I know. I think that's a big lesson we talk about all the time. Is just like learning and adapting as things.
Figure out what works
up
on the fly.
Right.
It makes me think. My oldest kid, my daughter, she just turned 16. So it's like trying to figure out, and your son's not far behind, and like trying to figure out college, and like they're being pushed so hard to figure out what they want to do with their lives.
Oh yeah.
And I was out to dinner with my daughter, and we were just talking about it, and like she experiences so much anxiety and stress associated with this external pressure to declare a future for herself.
Right.
And I just told her, I was like, listen, my experience. It's like I had I could never have anticipated that I would be doing what I'm doing and be who I am.
Yep.
Right now, as a 40-year-old, as your 40-year-old father. So I just don't feel like it's fair for her to have that much pressure on her. I just try to take it off and say, listen, you gotta take things as they come, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Follow your heart, follow your gut, and a little spreadsheet doesn't hurt.
A little spreadsheet doesn't hurt.
But a lot of spreadsheet starts to hurt.
I also feel like social media has kind of warped that a little bit too, because my kids, I have the same discussions. They're at the same age. My oldest is about to turn 17, so he's right in the middle of all the college stuff right now.
Is he freaking out?
it's a lot of responsibility put on people. I'm actually trying to encourage them to take a gap year.
I think
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
great. I think that'd be great advice.
But it's just a tough thing that there's so much momentum to education at that point that you see. But I went to school for pre-med at UT. Then the internet kind of came out of nowhere in the middle of the 90s, and so I was like, I'll do that. So I switched to computer science.
Right.
And I ended up taking organic chemistry as an elective on my transcript. But I talk to young creators too. It's the same kind of thing. With social media, it's amazing the conversations I'll have with people who are 19, 20, 21, and they think they're too late for anything. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I missed the boat on this, or I didn't get in on YouTube early enough, or I didn't get on Vine, or whatever. What's the next thing I got to look at? And it sounds like you guys have a similar story. I try to explain. It's like, I was 29. I worked on stuff for, imagine you're 19 now. Imagine you have the next 10 years to work on stuff before you're, figure something out. And there's people who, found that even later in life, it's like, but there's this constant feeling, I think, for a lot of people. It's like, I'm too late. I missed out. You know what I mean? And it's not at all the case.
Even business-wise, you talked about that earlier. We were early on internet video. We were late on a lot of other things.
Yeah.
This podcast wasn't the first podcast made. Podcasts have been around for years, and we started. And it's huge. We've been doing it for 10 years now.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. It's like when I look back at, every single day we were stressing and we were working our asses off to try to figure out what was the best thing to pour our energies into, and trying to balance the work-life thing and pulling the all-nighters, but scheduling those and like sleeping on the couch and waking up and continuing to do it. Like it was very stressful, and it wasn't like, I'm not telling Lily to just don't worry about it. It'll come to you. I hope that's not the message she's getting.
Well,
but
have a plan, but realize that it's likely to change.
Yeah, you got a lot of time. You have time is on your side,
Yep.
And what I always tell them is like, try stuff. Even if it doesn't work out, you're still honing your craft, or I think for a lot of people, discovering what their passion is. Because the last thing you want to do, and it's thing I've run into before, is when you're really good at something you're not passionate about. You're just like, that's a tough place to be in.
Right.
And it's easy to stay on that path.
Well, and I think they're more overwhelmed with options than we were. Like for me, my junior year in high school, I told my dad, I was like, I think Link and I think we want to go to film school. And he was like, okay, well, I'm not going to pay for that.
I think we were a couple years into this business, and my dad was still asking me when I was going to get a real job. So there's definitely
exactly. It's like, if you want to get a real degree, then I'll pay for that.
Yeah, it was pre-med simply because it was the smart kids major.
Right.
That's I never
why we
made
went
that
in
conscious
engineering.
decision. It was like, I'm in the smart kid group in high school, so I have to pick a major pre-med.
Right.
All right. Well, we gotta wrap this up.
No, I refuse.
But before we go, I do have one more thing I need to read. I just want to remind everyone about RTX coming up this summer. So don't forget, RTX Austin 2019 will be here sooner than you think. Will you be there? Weekend passes are available right now at rtxaustin.com. Can't wait to see all of your beautiful faces July 5th to 7th at the Austin Convention Center for the greatest animation, gaming, and comedy event in the world. We were talking about some of our shared experiences. We wanted to start RTX years ago as a place for internet creators to come together and show what they're working on. And you can take part in this right now if you head over to rtxaustin.com right now. Pick up weekend passes for you and your friends. Come hang out with us and the greatest community on the planet, July 5th through 7th at RTX Austin. You'll have a chance to see this podcast on the spot, always open, off topic, all live, plus the RT Animation Festival, special guests, big surprises, amazing cosplay, world premieres, and so much more. That's rtxaustin.com. Do not miss it. Come check it out.
Who doesn't want to come to Austin in July?
Well, we have air conditioning. It'll be taken care of. You can have
3-day indoor event.
You can come eat kolaches.
Bring your camelbacks.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for taking the time
Good to see you guys.
to talk with us today.
This was fun.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for having us.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Hey, everybody. If you enjoy this kind of content, make sure you like and subscribe not only to our channel, but also to Good Mythical Morning as well.
Yes. We have a channel, and it also works the same way. You can subscribe.
A little less enthusiasm, guys. Calm down. All right.
And if you didn't like the video, beat it. Get out of here.
Scat.
Scat through.